As you may have learned already by watching the online crypto summit, blockchain has numerous applications at the enterprise level. Almost any enterprise process you might think of could be more efficient and cost-effective through the technology. Some blockchain applications even tackle problems that were unaddressable before. Today's featured project does just that. DiscoveryIoT aims to solve one of the biggest problems large companies face today in the supply chain, such as tracking of their products, loss of shelf space, stock obsolescence, and high trade marketing spends. We are going to discuss their business model, upcoming token sale, and the token economics model and its future potential. Please welcome Selvam VMS, co-founder and CEO of DiscoveryIoT. All right, so hello Selvam, thank you very much for being here and welcome to the Online Crypto Summit.
Thank you for your time, Victoria, appreciate it.
Let's get started. Will you share a bit about your background and also introduce the project to us?
Absolutely. So I'm Selvam, the co-founder and CEO of DiscoveryIoT. We are building a blockchain-based IoT communications platform. So essentially, we're building a network through which IoT devices can communicate amongst each other and to their central servers. We've been in this business for about 9 months now, and the blockchain part is an extension of a solution that we already provide in the offline world to our clients in the supply chain industry. We are a team of 15 people based in India, Chennai, and we are taking the ICO route in June to help fund our project and make it scale it to the next level.
Okay, so can you talk a bit about what problems do you solve with that project, and who is it for? Who are your potential customers?
Yeah, there are two aspects to the solution that we are building. So each aspect addresses a different market. So I'll talk about the two aspects separately. One facet of the solution we are building is the IoT network that I just spoke about. Specifically, we are our early adopters of the solution would be consumer durable and FMCG companies who would like to track their products through their supply chain. Now, when I say supply chain, it could be any consumer FMCG brand which wants to understand how many of its products are lying in which level of the supply chain, how many of them are lying in their warehouse, how many of them are lying with distributors, with retail outlets, so on and so forth. Now, access to this information is very valuable for companies because it helps them optimize their marketing spend, understand which product is moving where, why it's moving, why it's not moving, so that they can take corrective actions immediately. Much of the data that people work with now is old. So you get data of the past week probably today. So it's at least 7 to 10 days old. So corrective action is very inefficient. So brands end up overspending in outlets where they need not have spent in the first place, and end up underspending in other outlets where sales would get affected as a consequence. So we help give this visibility to brands through our network, through our solution rather, not just the network, through our solution whereby they are able to take optimal decisions at the right time on a real-time basis. So that's the first part of the solution. The second part of the solution is we are building a separate protocol altogether. We are not building our solution on top of the existing Ethereum or other protocols, primarily because we believe they are not optimized for machine-to-machine transactions. Excuse me.
So you're building your own blockchain?
Yes, we are building our own blockchain protocol. And it is actually optimized for operating on a very thin client, which is a user's mobile phone. So it's not a heavy node architecture unlike any of the other existing blockchains, and it's primarily it has capacity to handle more than 1 million transactions per second, which would be the order required to handle IoT or machine-to-machine transactions. So for this solution that we are building, any blockchain developer who has a mobile-first approach would be a target customer.
So how do you achieve that scalability? How do you achieve so many transactions per second?
Okay, our blockchain is built on on a geographically aware network, which means the data is stored not on every node. It does not work on the concept like an Ethereum network where every node stores all the data. So we segregate our nodes into nano nodes, micro nodes, and macro nodes. And these are geographically aware nodes. So the applications that we are trying to build, the network would be suitable for applications that need to be geographically aware. For instance, let's talk about an advertising requirement where somebody wants to show you an advertisement based on your current location. You are close to Times Square in New York, and they want to show advertisements only to people who are near Times Square, right? So my nodes will be the nodes will be on our network will be classified into: one, you are in Times Square, that's the nano zone that you're in; two, you're in New York State, that's the micro zone you're in; three, you are in the United States of America, that's the macro zone that you are in. And all this information, it's only at a metadata level, it is stored at each node. So all the block data is not stored at all nodes. And because of the Genesis architecture that we are following, there is child, parent, and then parent of parent kind of an approach. It makes node discovery much quicker, and thereby the speed of transactions would be phenomenally faster than any of the existing networks. Having said that, however, our protocol is optimized for low weight transactions, like IoT communication transactions, which are typically in the order of a few kilobytes, a few KBs. It's not for heavyweight transactions like financial transactions.
Okay,
so we are trading off speed for the packet size, so to say.
So can you give maybe a use case example of how all this fits together and how it will work in real life?
Yes. So the protocol, on top of this protocol that we are building our own application. So we are not just building the infrastructure, we are also extending it to build our own application, the IoT network, right? I'll give you a live use case. Um, let's say Nestle wants to track each of its units of chocolate bar through its supply chain. So they have a very large manufacturing facility in, say, Switzerland, and they want to understand which unit is lying in my Spain, Madrid warehouse, which unit lying in my Moscow warehouse, and which unit is lying in my New Delhi warehouse, right? So what they do is we are also developing a hardware solution where Nestle would affix a small hardware tag with a cost of less than 5 cents, 5 US cents, on each of their products. And this hardware itself is not a communications based hardware, which means it does not speak to it does not have GPS, it does not have a GSM module on its own. It's a passive self-charging IoT tag that goes on the product. That's on one side. On the other side, we are building a huge community, a network, a community of users, public, you and me, who would have the Discovery mobile application installed on our phones, on our mobile phones. So as I walk through the shopping aisle in any supermarket, all the products that have tags on them, these tags would automatically pair with my phone, and the location data of the phone is an alias for the location of the tag itself, right? And this information gets pushed into the blockchain, wherein Nestle now has understanding of, hey, this particular unit which was manufactured on the 16th of January in this facility is now lying in this outlet for so many days, wherein they can also take immediate corrective action. So we have
this information is updated real time, or how fast has that work?
Yes, it is real time, because we are not building a communications channel per se. We are piggybacking on the existing mobile communication infrastructure. So as a user, when I have the app on my phone, the data communication is happening through the telecom network. And and that's real time, right? The moment a ping happens between the tag and the phone, this information is immediately transmitted into the blockchain to the server of Nestle, in a manner of speaking, where they get instant access. So so if a product is has only 15 days of shelf life remaining, Nestle can take immediate corrective action to understand, hey, there's a product that's going to expire in 15 days that's lying on this shelf, so we need to take corrective action to push it out, maybe give a discount or no. understanding product moment and take corrective marketing action immediately. That's one use case.
Okay, so do you have any competitors into the blockchain space, or any other solution outside of the blockchain space that tackles on that problem?
Correct. There are solutions outside the blockchain space that are trying to build IoT communications networks. For instance, there's Sigfox, there's LoRaWAN, who are building IoT communications infrastructure. So what a Vodafone has done, or what what an AT&T has done, Sigfox is trying to replicate it, which means putting up IoT communication towers to cover each geography. However, we believe that's not a scalable approach, because you again need to replicate what the mobile telecom providers have already done in terms of putting up the hardware and the tower infrastructure. So that's one route people have taken. The other solutions are simple, the legacy systems like barcode scanning, RFID. So these are solutions that also track products, but those require active intervention and other constraints. Like barcode needs line of sight, right? You need to be able to read the barcode to scan it and make it work. However, our solution is completely passive. The tag is passive, the user is passive. User does not need to do any specific action. He just walks through the aisle, and the phone automatically communicates with the tag and transmits the data. This is possible because of the opportunities that the blockchain technology provides. In the blockchain space itself, there are no competitors that are providing the solution as yet.
So what is the size of your potential market, and how much of that do you estimate to take over?
Okay, the FMCG and consumer durables companies lose close to $1 trillion globally on account of stock obsolescence, suboptimal marketing spends due to lack of data, right? So that's like the low-hanging fruit that we're targeting initially. Those would be the early adopters. And once we have a user community in place, really, I would be industry agnostic, right? Any IoT device can actually latch onto my network and use this as a communications network. The estimates from Gartner and many other sources is about $20 trillion is the worth of the IoT communications industry by 2025. So that's a large number as well. For the protocol itself, we are not going to be charging anything. It's going to be a free-to-use protocol, where other DApps, distributed apps, can actually build on top of our protocol. It is a costless infrastructure for them, where it would just increase the utility of our tokens, because the underlying transactions would happen on our tokens. So coming back to your question, in terms of the tracking solution itself, it's $20 trillion plus market over the next 3 to 4 years. And we are targeting revenues of, we're being very conservative. We are only targeting revenues of close to $100 million in 3 years' time.
So do you have any companies that you're already negotiating partnerships with?
Yes, we are. Like I told you earlier, I run another supply chain company already. We deal with some of India's largest FMCG brands in handling their supply chain. So we are in discussions with them to close our partnerships. We are also discussing with few very large FMCG companies, but I'm afraid I'm not at a stage to disclose the names as yet, because things have not been firmed up just as yet.
So is this market you mentioned earlier in India alone, or globally?
No, this is a global market.
It's a global market.
So I'm talking to you about the $20 trillion market is the opportunity globally available for IoT device communication.
So how are these companies looking into that solution? How are they? Do they feel like they would adopt something like that? Do they like the idea? Are they excited about it?
Oh, absolutely. Just to give you an understanding, I'll go back to another use case just to illustrate this, right? Now, a tube of toothpaste, right? There's no way Colgate or a Procter & Gamble will be able to understand if the tube of toothpaste is lying on the shelf or lying in the warehouse, or has been sold to the end consumer, right? Now, now the solution that we propose enables them to track this product at a hardware cost of less than 5 cents and a tracking cost of less than 2 cents per product per month, right? And this is a small fraction, very small fraction of the money that they would otherwise spend in terms of stock obsolescence or suboptimal marketing spends. So whichever company we have spoken to, including some of the large Fortune 500 companies, the reception has been amazing. People are very excited about it, and once we stitch together the deals and partnerships, we'll be able to disclose the names. But at this stage, they are very excited and in taking this forward, because this provides them a very low cost way of tracking and understanding their markets.
So just to take a step back and maybe explain to our audience, well, why is it important for those companies to do these track records? Well, why do they need to do that?
Okay. This goes back to the problem statement I was talking about earlier. Excuse me. The reason why companies would like to track their products through their supply chain is to understand shelf movement across SKUs, across retail outlets. Now, in the developing world, in much of the developing world, Southeast Asia, Africa, significant parts of Eastern Europe, South America, more than 85% of retail is not modern trade. It's still mom and pop stores, right? So companies do not get data as to which products are moving and which products are stagnating on the shelves. Now, based on this, so to address that, what companies do today is they take a one-size-fits-all approach. They give a 5% off on all products across all retail outlets. Now, there may be some outlets where the product is moving well, where you do not need to spend the 5%, right? The product is already moving well. Consumers are already buying those products. And there may be other outlets where the 5% would be inadequate. You know, you're giving 5% does not increase the saleability of the product in any manner. So it is, on one side, you're ending up overspending, and on the other side, you're ending up underspending and ineffective spending. So the objective of optimal spending is not achieved. Now, with this data that we are providing, companies will be able to clearly and on real-time basis understand which product is moving where and take corrective actions immediately and customize marketing spends at a retail outlet level. Now, companies spend close to $16 trillion globally on marketing, on trade marketing spend. This is called trade marketing. Marketing that you do at a retail level to incentivize consumer offtake. So when you go into a Walmart, you suddenly see 10% off on this, buy two and get one free. This is called trade marketing. So companies globally spend $16 trillion on trade marketing, and we are estimating a definite efficiency increase of $2.5 to $3 trillion if they get access to this data. So that's one reason why companies would definitely require this data. On the other side, on the other hand, companies lose a lot of money today due to stockouts and stock obsolescence. How many times have you and I walked into retail outlets only to find that they don't have stock of the product that we wish to buy, right? Then the number is 8.33%. So 1 out of 12 times you will probably find a product just out of stock which you want to buy. Again, this is because companies do not have an understanding of which product is available in which shelf and which is out of stock, right?
But there is also a lack of communication between the producer, the company distributing the product, and the retailer.
Correct. There's complete lack of communication. That's one. And retailers, and that's why I spoke about the first point of retail being so disorganized, right? In developing countries, 85-90% of the trade is unorganized. So it's not possible for companies to go and get access on a real-time basis from retail outlets. Unlike in the US, where 93% of the retail is already organized, you have the Walmarts of the world, you have the Targets of the world. So there is possibility to share data, but in the developing world, that is not at all possible. So companies end up with their brands running out of stock in shelves. At the same time, overstocked in other retail outlets, right? So again, you're in a catch-22 situation where in one outlet you have too much inventory, too much stock, and on the other outlet you end up with dry shelves, empty shelves, and both of which are not good for brands.
So how does your solution compares to, let's say, Walmart's solution to that problem?
Walmart can only build a solution for itself, right? Walmart is in the retail space, the world's largest retailer. So in fact, Walmart shares data on real-time basis with with a few brands. I know for a fact that Procter and Gamble and Walmart have a very deep strategic understanding where data sharing is on a live basis. But hey, there's only so many outlets that you can actually go and get into partnerships with on a real-time basis, and certainly not in the mom and pop stores, which dominate the developing world, right? Maybe the US or the UK or the Western Europe to a great extent, retailers organized and access to data is available, but certainly not in the developing world.
So what is the market that you'll be approaching first?
So we will be targeting the developing world. When I say developing world, our initial markets, the first couple of years, we will be targeting Southeast Asia and India, the Indo-Pacific region, so to say. Following which we will be entering into markets like South America and Africa for the tracking solution. But for the protocol, we are really agnostic, right? It's geographically agnostic. We're providing a protocol on top of which blockchain developers can develop their own applications.
I see. So going back to your blockchain solution, and will you have your token issued on top of the blockchain, and what would its purpose be within the network?
So we will be launching our own token in the ICO. The purpose of the token is, so I spoke to you about how companies will be tracking their products on the network. The actual tracking is happening through the user community who have the application on their mobile phones. Now the user community gets rewarded for every megabyte of data that they help transfer through the network, and that reward will be in the form of our tokens. Similarly, enterprise brands which pay for the tracking solution will also pay us in the form of our tokens. So the financial transaction on the platform completely happens through our tokens. That's the utility of the token on our network.
So will you have a limited amount of tokens created, or how?
Right.
What is your policy here?
Yes, we have a limited number of tokens. We will be creating 1 billion tokens in total, and no additional tokens would ever be created beyond that.
And under what jurisdiction are you registered? Are you compliant with regulations of any sort?
Correct. At this point of time, the company is registered in India, but we will not be able to run the ICO from India because the Indian regulations are not out yet. I mean, though the government has not prohibited it, we don't want to operate the ICO out of an unregulated jurisdiction, which is India. We will be incorporating the company over the next 15 days in Malta, where the jurisdiction is favorable. Though the regulations are expected only in the next month, there is a very clear guideline from the government as to what the regulation is going to be. So we will be compliant to those regulations. And as far as the ICO itself is concerned, we would be excluding citizens of the United States, for instance, and other regulations where other jurisdictions where the regulatory framework is not conducive.
Okay, so what will be your sales model? How will that go?
When you say sales model, could you elaborate that?
No, I mean your token sales model. What stages the token will be released and how it will be distributed later on?
Right. So a total of 1 billion tokens will be created, like I told you earlier. And at this stage, at the ICO stage, which includes the private sale, pre-sale, and the ICO, we will be selling total of 320 million tokens, or 32% of the total release would be sold. There would be 26% of the tokens which would be kept in the reserve for future fundraise for the company. Given the nature of the project, there may be a future requirement for funds to be raised, which will be done with the treasury reserve of 26%. And then you have the team and the advisory committee, which takes up the rest. And there's also a bonus issue at various stages of the ICO, so that will cover up the 100%.
So, how many tokens will be left for the owners of that?
Owners will have 10% of the tokens,
10%.
which will vest over a period of 24 months, so that our interests are completely aligned, right?
So, will there be any vesting period for the investors as well?
The direct sale tokens themselves, obviously, they would not be a vesting period. They vest immediately. Any other tokens outside the sale, which includes the bonus issue, which includes the not the founders is a 24-month. That's been told earlier. The legal, the bounty campaign, the partnerships, or the advisory board that we are creating, all of them would vest in 12 equal installments.
So how will that funding be used? Do you have any milestones in place? Well, what's your plan?
Absolutely. We have milestones set in place. So bulk of the spend would be into the engineering and the research and development part. We have the hardware development that's happening, which is the tag that I spoke to you about. We are developing it at less than 5 cents. So there's a significant research and development that needs to go into that. There's also the blockchain network that needs to be developed. We are not building our application on top of the Ethereum protocol. So there's a significant investment that goes into developing the blockchain network. And we will also be building custom solutions for the early adopters, the FMCG companies and consumer durable companies that come on board with us at an early stage. We will have to build customized solutions for them based on their specific requirements till this gains wide adoption. So there's an investment that's going to go into that will be going into building the custom solutions. So that's on the engineering side. On the marketing side, we have two elements of marketing, right? One is the B2B piece where we reach out to large brands, enterprises. And two is the community development, which is a significant B2C kind of an approach that needs to be taken. So there's an investment that's going to go into that as well, which will involve participation in events, conferences, sponsorships, and so on and so forth. And these two would contribute, these two would constitute close to 88-90% of the total fundraise. The balance would handle the selling, general administration, legal, marketing, admin expenses.
So do you currently have anything built yet? Any MVP or anything that it's out there? And also, is it open source or it will be proprietary?
It will be proprietary. The protocol itself is something where there would be API access for other developers to build on top of it. Because we are taking the mobile first approach, ours is the only protocol that's actually taking the mobile first approach. It's customized to run on user mobile phones. So any developer that wants to access the community members' mobile phones, GPS or the Bluetooth or the Wi-Fi infrastructure, they can do so. That part would be we would have an API for that. As far as the network itself is concerned, it is again it's node driven. It is a mobile phone driven infrastructure. And coming back to your question about which stage we are in right now, we are in the MVP development stage. The real life use case, we have a semi-automatic, semi-manual solution that we already provide to our existing clients in the other business. But in terms of having a fully automated solution, we are in the MVP development stage now. On the hardware part, we have a prototype that is ready, a self-charging IoT tag that is ready. Now we are in the process of miniaturizing it. The tag that we have currently developed in prototype is a 7 centimeter by 7 centimeter tag. It's a pretty large one. We are in the process of miniaturizing it, for which we will be spending on research and development. That's part of the R&D spend that I spoke about.
Yep. All right. So just before we close, can you tackle a bit again the utility use of your token within the network and why will people want to buy it?
Absolutely. Our token has tremendous utility within our network, which means the complete transactions that happen on our platform will happen through our tokens only. FMCG companies which want to track their products, they will be paying us in the form of our tokens, and we will be paying the community for the services that they provide in terms of data capture and data transmission, also in the form of our tokens. And as a policy, there is limited tokens. So as adoption of the solution increases among FMCG companies or consumer durable companies in the platform, there would be an increased demand for the tokens, which would help initial investors and increase trading volume on the exchanges. Our token will be listed on major exchanges after the ICO. And because of the inherent nature of the repetitive nature of the business, it's not a B2C solution where you have a client on board now and he leaves you in a month. This is once we sign up with the client, they stay with us for years together, right? It's a long-term solution. As their sales grow and as we onboard more and more clients, the demand for the tokens on the exchange will be significantly increased. And since supply is restricted, economics 101, right?
Yep, very nice model. Okay, would you like to add anything else to the discussion before we close?
I'd like to touch a little bit about our team and the advisory panel that we have on board. We have built a very strong advisory board among we have 4 among the top 5 crypto advisors in the world among on our advisory board. We have that's on the crypto side. On the blockchain side, we have a very senior research scholar from MIT, a very senior blockchain expert from the University of California. We have a blockchain researcher, and from the University of Brazil in Sao Paulo, who spoke about blockchain, 12 years ago, when all this was still at a very nascent stage. So he's been researching this for more than 12 years. So these are the very senior gentlemen that are helping us on the blockchain side. On the IoT side, we are we are in very advanced stages of discussion on building the IoT advisory board with senior executives from companies like Nokia, IBM, Microsoft, and Vodafone. So these are the ladies and gentlemen who are actually going to be advising us through the building of the solution, and that's what we are most excited about. And our team internally, we are, like I told you earlier, we are a 13-member team at this point of time with very good blockchain expertise at this point of time. Not just blockchain expertise, also business expertise, so understanding the real-life applications of the business, not just from a technical perspective, but able to bridge the technical and business angle. So the team and advisors is something that we are very excited about, and that's what gives us confidence to keep this going.
Very nice. So when is your crowd sale going live? When can our listeners see it and participate in it? Maybe they can sign up for updates at some place. We can have any links on the page that you can provide. So just please share a few words about that.
Yes, our website, DiscoveryIoT.com, has a page where interested participants can actually go through the whitelist process and submit their email address to subscribe to our updates, regular updates. The crowd sale itself is expected to be on up from late June. So we are 2.5 months away from the crowd sale. We are doing private sale at this point of time, and we will be excited to have people on board support this project and take IoT to the next level, because we believe this will actually unleash the real power of the Internet of Things. So far, IoT has been restricted to very high-end, expensive applications, but now we believe this project will actually help in democratizing IoT and truly taking IoT and making IoT a daily life technology.